Oh, nice.
It does that a lot. To be fair, that would be a really cool power.
If I was a wolf, I would howl at a moon.
100%.
Yeah, because you sort of got to, right?
Yeah.
It's sort of like it's just right there. It's like a big circular moon.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah. If I was a wolf, I'd be howling at that.
That's a good idea. If you had to, because I've always thought I would love that superpower to be able to like transition from a human into like a wolf or something, or like
Yeah.
if you were to have one superpower, what would it be? And I do have an answer for this, and I've thought about this.
Okay, well, I think everyone picks flying, so I'm not going to pick flying.
Okay. Wait, hold on. What do you mean everyone picks flying?
Everyone picks flying.
No, they don't. Everyone picks like teleportation.
Or flying, yeah. Well, something that you can transport through the air or teleport or something. So I'm not going to go... I would go super speed because I think it's so OP. Because I've always thought
so fast to go back in time.
That's quite wild.
Like in Batman.
Justice League. Yeah. But I always thought the Flash is actually like the second strongest guy there. Because imagine physically and scientifically here, and he's like, I'm just gonna put my glasses on. If you can go at an infinite speed, you can punch with almost infinite force.
Because of your momentum.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you have the same strength as Superman, if not more. And you can...
No one has more strength than Superman.
No, yeah, he's got like infinite. So you have the same strength as Superman.
Yeah.
And you can move the same speed as Superman.
Yeah.
You just can't fly. But, yeah.
But surely if you're going that speed and you jump,
you're flying. Yeah. You're literally the strongest. And sometimes like they literally depict it where everyone just stops and freezes and they go through. You can literally do anything. You can do like literally anything if you're going that fast.
Okay.
And also imagine if you were going that fast where time slowed down for everyone else and like everyone was moving in slow motion. If you just tap someone, the amount of force that's going in them, they just vaporized instantly. So it would be a really inconvenient power to have as well.
So is that now making you change your mind?
Yeah, so now I'm thinking like, oh no.
You've literally just talked yourself out of that
superpower.
Also, I think if you were that fast, life would go too quick. You'd be like, right, I just need to head to the shops.
Everything will happen
now,
too quickly.
And then it's not... But then I guess to you, if you're going that quick and everyone's going that slow...
Do you experience life? Does your life experience as longer than everyone else's? Because when you're going at super speed, you're going at a normal speed. Like you're still like you're still thinking of everything at normal speed for yourself.
Yeah.
But then everyone else are moving in such slow motion. Is your life just going to feel like it? Your days would just feel so long.
That's a really good point.
Because imagine adding on, like, imagine if we went to the shops now and came back, but technically time never really moved on. It moved on like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
But then you've just gone and done a 15-minute trip and back.
But you haven't.
But your day would feel that long, right? Because you're doing 15-minute tasks in a minute, in 2 seconds, 1 second.
It depends on whether your body feels the speed, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If your body feels the speed...
Yeah,
then of you going there and back and going, that to me was 2 seconds. Or it's everything slows down, I get up, I walk around. I'm going so quick that it feels slow to me. Do you know what I mean? It depends.
Yeah, it sort of depends on how your body reacts.
It's a weird one, actually.
That is a weird one, yeah.
But then, you know, even without this being superpowers, this is what I've always found that interesting, that if you were to travel at the speed of light in one direction out, you know, in space, and just speed of light, you know, a million miles, and then speed of light back. Obviously, the time, what was it? You'd end up like 100 years in the future.
Yeah, because
you'd go back in time, wouldn't you?
It's to do with how light bends. Time bends with gravity, doesn't it?
Something like that.
Yeah, and if you go away from a gravitational pull, your time moves slower than the people who are closer to that gravitational pull.
That's nuts.
On Earth, when you're flying, because gravitational pull isn't that strong, it's not too big of a difference. But if you went out at the speed of light out and back, you would experience a big difference.
So you'd go back. You would go back in time.
No, you go forward.
You go forward.
Everyone else on Earth would age 100 years or whatever the time is. But like when you go near a black hole, that's where you see really big time warping.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Flash, that is a good point though. The Flash moving so quick. Yeah.
How does he feel it?
Yeah.
Because like even in the movie that he's sprinting around the side of Superman,
Yeah.
and then
But like he's experiencing that in like normal speed, and then he's watching Superman watch him.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a cool scene.
Anyway,
Yeah.
what was your answer for what you want? For
Oh,
your
I'd go with Batman's superpower.
You just want to be rich,
Money.
money.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's got money.
Actually, my favorite bit in the Batman versus Superman movie is right at the end when he goes, "How did you get the house back?" He goes, "I bought the bank." I really like that bit. He's like, "You bought a whole bank?"
Yeah, fair play.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. Well,
Crazy. Hello.
welcome back.
We basically started this episode by going, we don't know what to say, so let's just start talking as we normally do.
And we just talked nonsense. So this is an F1 podcast.
It is an F1 podcast.
But
Hey,
what's
it's lights out.
and away we go.
Love it. Oh my gosh. We haven't actually done a podcast in a few weeks now.
Yeah, we haven't actually. We did last week's Miami Grand Prix, and then
That wasn't last week, was it?
weekend before last, and then we're a little bit late. We just wanted to. We were sort of deciding on the theme, and based on a lot of the feedback that we got from people, it seems like there's a lot of people listening who just don't really have any idea what F1's about.
Yeah.
Like, we got a lot of our friends watching, and we really appreciate all you guys watching, by the way.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much. But yeah, we just realized that a lot of you guys are just listening and you have no idea what F1 is and you have no idea what we're talking about. So we thought we'd do a little bit of a mini series.
Bit of an explaining, and we're going to call it Driving for Dummies, or Formula One for Flipping Idiots, or
for the Formula One for dummies. I don't know. We haven't thought this through yet.
We'll figure something
We'll figure out the name soon. But yeah, we're going to do a little bit on the
general bits and bobs.
General bits and bobs, a bit of an intro session into F1. Give me a little bit of a series. We're going to break down lots of different parts of F1 in general. And then hopefully by the end of the series, you're going to know everything about F1.
Not everything.
Well,
to be honest, when I was doing a little bit of research for this, and I was just, just kind of thinking, basic stuff. What's the basic stuff that people might want to know, and all that. I don't know why, but it got me really excited just about F1 again. Do you know? Not that I'm not excited, but as in like, it just got me really giddy, and I was like, I love this sport.
Yeah. No, I get that. When you're like really looking into it, you're like, oh,
yeah. I was like, this is so cool.
Yeah,
it's like no wonder I love it. It's the simplest stuff as well. That I've got. So, should I start?
Yeah. Do you know if you want to go through do you know a bit about history of F1?
We'll do a small history bit.
Yeah.
History lesson, everyone.
Yeah.
Gear up. Get your cup of tea.
Get your cup of tea.
Okay.
Get a notepad. We're going to do an exam at the end of this. So
quiz questions.
Quiz questions at the
end. Okay. So, before there was Formula One, and this is in the.
It was a very sad, dark time.
It was.
Very sad.
I mean, it was
time.
between two wars: the First World War and the Second World War.
Well, it actually
so
was.
It was a really dark time.
It was like in the Great Depression.
It was a little nasty. It was a little nasty. So around the 30s, there was the European Drivers' Championships. That's what it was called at the time. So that was the big racing, tournament or yearly events. That's what happened. That's what it was called. It was called the European Drivers' Championships, and that was going through the 30s into the 40s, and then the war hit.
Yeah.
So the war.
Oh well. Can't drive.
No, not into the 40s. Of course, it started 39.
30s to 40s, yeah.
Anyway, so in the 30s, when the European Drivers' Championships was around, they had obviously their version of regulations. Okay, and that they used to call that the Formula Libre regulations.
Oh.
Okay, so after
Libre. I quite like that.
Libre. It's a nice word, isn't it? So after the war, that's when Formula One 1946 started, and they used the name from the regulations of the previous European Championships and went, Formula. Cool word. We're going to call it Formula One. So that's why it's called Formula One. It's
Cool
called
reason.
that,
That's cool reason for. I didn't know that, by the way. That's a really cool reason for why it's called Formula One.
isn't it?
Yeah.
I really like that. See, this is why it got me excited.
Yeah.
I was reading all this stuff.
Formula Libre.
Formula Libre regulations.
Oh.
That's now yes, and then the FIA as well at that time began.
Yeah, the Formula International Association.
The Formula International Association, which was then and still is the governing body
Yeah.
of Formula One and others.
Yeah.
You know, Formula Two, Formula Three, World Rally Championships, all these sorts of other.
A lot of the racing events that you can watch is all governed by the FIA. And what it means
It
like
is.
governed, they control it all.
Yeah.
They make the rules for it.
Yeah.
They are the ones who are in charge of basically getting people to buy into F1 and stuff. They're the
Yeah.
big daddies of F1.
They are the big daddies of F1. Just
And racing.
like in the UK, the LTA is the Lawn Tennis Association. They run tennis for
Yeah.
the UK.
Yeah.
The FA runs football in the UK.
Yeah.
FIFA runs kind of the global
Football, yeah.
just like that. So it's so you understand that. And yeah, so obviously the regulations basically came in 1946 because the Formula One regulations, because they wanted to distinguish between the different
Leagues.
leagues and the
Yeah.
cars and the speeds.
Yeah.
So they wanted to make sure that there was a number one Formula One.
Yeah.
So that's basically when that came in.
Yeah. And the reason why you have different leagues, and it might sound obvious to some, but you have different leagues because different cars are capable of different things.
Absolutely.
Like, you wouldn't put your Fiat Punto in a race versus a Ferrari because they're just not built the same and they're not built for the same purpose.
my Fiat Punto will be modded to the max, mate. That will have the fattest turbo. It would just be,
Your Fiat
Nuts.
Punto just like drag racing a Ferrari.
mate, it will rinse that Ferrari.
I bet it would. But there is a reason why you have different leagues, and it's just for different levels of the car and obviously skill of the drivers and stuff. So yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, and do you know who the company is that is, obviously it won't be back then, but now who the big company is that owns the FIA? Do you know who they are?
Is it Liberty Media?
Bosh.
Yeah,
Nailed
Liberty
it.
Media. Are the...
Liberty Media. Never heard of them until till this.
Oh,
No.
really? Oh,
Yeah.
Liberty Media, the big cheese.
Oh, I didn't know that.
American guys. Yeah.
American.
They're
And I think
American.
they do.
That's why there's a lot of races in America now.
Makes loads of sense. 3 races.
Yeah.
They do something else as well. They have other companies that they own.
I don't know.
Something FM, one of the big radio stations out in the US, they own as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Which everyone will know if you'd know the logo if you saw it. Yeah, so they
Oh, cool.
Liberty Media. So if you ever hear Liberty Media, they are the company that owns the FIA.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And the reason why you have a company that owns the FIA is because of one, investment money. That's the main thing. People buy shares in the FIA to give them money so they can do races and stuff. And money. Money's the reason. I was trying to think of other reasons, but it's literally money.
money,
Money.
and money is helpful in this sport.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the racing. So, so after the war, 1946, and throughout the 50s, obviously every year there would be your Formula One season. Okay, but at that time there was only one award that was given every year.
Okay.
And that was your Drivers' Championship. Yeah, so obviously the drivers would accumulate as many points as they can throughout the years, and obviously we'll go on to the point system shortly, but they will gather as many points as they can throughout the year, and the only award given at the end of it would be the driver who got the most points.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay? Until the late 50s, when basically cars started to be more reliable, they started to be able to last longer, so they decided to put more than one car in the race. So then they decided to introduce what they call the Constructors' Championships, which obviously we have both of those still today.
Yeah.
So our Constructors' Championships is the points accumulated out of the 2 vehicles are put together to then win a Constructors' Trophy at the end for the team who get the most points all together.
So, like, for example, a team like Ferrari put 2 cars in, and they have 2 separate drivers in those 2 cars, and they both race. In the Drivers' Championship, if one of the cars accounts for one of the sets of points, and they just compete with the other driver.
Yep.
But in the Constructors, you add up the 2 points of both of them, and then Ferrari as a team will be competing against a different team like Mercedes.
Correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Which is great. I love the fact that there's different parts. There's obviously the driver focus part, and then there's as the team, because it is a team sport at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It is a team sport, and there's all the different areas of the team to make things happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they did introduce that at the end of the 50s. You know, well, let's not go through the whole history.
Yeah.
But that kind of brings us to, you know, the around.
Yeah, that's sort of like how F1 started, really, isn't it? It's
Exactly.
like the general sort of background and that's sort of how we see the two championships today.
Yes.
I think we can go into sort of the importance of the two championships. Like you just said about how like it's important, and the constructors, it's a team sport.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't really realize, but F1 is a team sport. It's not just for the driver and the fastest car. The fastest driver will win. It's very dependent on not just the fastest driver on the grid or the best driver on the grid, but it's also the best car on the grid.
Yeah.
And the car is probably the most important part of that partnership. Yeah. I'd say in a world championship, 90% of so for the drivers' world championship, in terms of an importance, 90% of the importance is on the car.
Yeah.
And then 10% difference between the two teammates is what means where one comes higher than the other, really.
Yes.
But yeah, the car is the main thing.
The car is the main thing. So so let's talk about how the actual racing works. So each year there are 10 teams.
Yeah.
Each year there are 10 teams.
Not always 10.
Constructors.
Yeah. Sometimes there's more, sometimes there's less. Teams drop in and drop out all the time.
Yeah.
But this year
and previous last
this
few
year
years.
and quite a few different years since about 2016.
Yeah.
There's been 10 teams.
There's been 10 teams. So 10 constructors, 10 teams, same thing. And they will have 2 drivers and 2 cars.
Yeah.
That race every week.
Yeah.
Or every race, should we say. Not every week. Every time there's a race. Great. And then throughout the year, how many races are there? Between maybe 20 and 23 races per season?
Yeah, it's sort of each year they sort of have around 20 to 23. It seems like every year they have more races.
Yeah.
So on average, you're probably seeing a race every 1 to 2 weeks. Sorry.
Yeah.
There's a race. But yeah, about 23 races in a season.
Absolutely.
And those 23 races go across the globe. You go from all the way from the Americas and South America and North America, all the way to the other sides. You have a race in Australia as well. Like it completely covers the entire globe.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's in a different place every time.
Yeah.
And obviously these tracks change every year as well. So sometimes there's like, there used to be
China used to be one of the tracks.
Yeah.
It used to be every year, but then because of COVID and stuff, that gets replaced out.
Yep.
You have tracks in like Turkey and stuff that used to be there that's no longer there. But you have new tracks as well. Like there's one in Saudi Arabia that got built, which is a new track, and Miami and Vegas is the new one this year.
Yeah. So things change as well.
Yeah. So the races you go to, the tracks you go to, they do change. You do have a few staple tracks. The British Grand Prix is always at Silverstone. Pretty much.
Italians.
Yeah, the Italians always at Monza.
Yeah.
You have
Monaco's always there.
Monaco is always there. So you do have ones which are always there, but other tracks can change in and out.
Yeah, which is obviously just by season, and which is interesting, and I think that's great that tracks change. I think that's really nice. Really nice that it's not the same tracks, the same stuff every year or so.
It adds a slight amount of variety.
Yeah,
throughout the season,
which is great.
Yeah.
And the season normally lasts between March time to kind of November time.
Yeah, with December now, because because of how many races there are now, it's sort of creeping into December.
Yeah.
But like Feb to December would be like the longest season they would have ever done, really. So
yeah. And they normally have they have kind of the Christmas period off.
Yeah, you have Christmas off, and you also have a 3-week break in summer.
Yeah. Which
is called the summer break as well, which you're literally not allowed to do any work. You can't work on the cars, you can't do anything.
Interesting. Oh yes, I did know about that, but I forgot about that one. Very helpful to know about. So obviously we're talking about the teams, and each team is made up of different parts. So there's lots of different parts of the team that have very vital roles.
Yeah.
So the team will have engineers.
Yeah.
It will have mechanics. It will have strategists. And all of these different teams basically are coming together, working together to make the car go as fast as it can every single race.
Yeah. Yeah, it was
Is there any other pits that I've missed? Any other?
You have a pit crew.
Pit
You
crews.
have you have so many different parts. You have like a marketing team. Even all of them, all of that helps because
Yeah.
it's an F1 team. You're looking at like 300 people or so. Like they're massive, massive teams, and
Yeah.
they have a base in like Mercedes will have a base in the UK in Brackley. And then they also have a team which goes out to the Grand Prix every weekend and stuff. So these are massive, massive teams.
Yeah.
And they all play a part in making the car go as fast as possible on the weekend.
And they've all got every person's important in that system.
Every person is.
But I think you said 300 there.
Mm.
Pretty sure I heard on Graham Norton. I watched a thingy. Oh, it might have been Graham Norton, but Lewis Hamilton I think was on Graham Norton, and I think they have about 1,200.
Really?
We'll need to look that up, but I'm pretty sure he said that the passes and things roughly have around the sort of 300 people mark.
Yeah.
And they, I think, have around the 1,200 mark.
Yeah. Wow. I mean,
I'll have to look that up.
We'll look that up. Yeah, we'll confirm it next week. But
We'll confirm that. To be fair, we say this all the time that we're going to look stuff up and confirm it. We never do.
we never do. We always pretend like we do.
We always pretend like we do, but we don't.
We look it up after the podcast, and then we never bother.
Never do anything about
We
it.
never bring it up again.
What we should do is we should listen through all of them,
Yeah, and just
find the questions that we haven't answered, and just do like a
we'll
stint
do
of
an
answering.
episode of like. Yeah, so we
Catch
asked
up.
this question a bit.
Great. So yes, obviously, so many different parts of the
Yeah.
team. Obviously, the drivers are part of the team as well. It's all a big team.
It's all a big team, and it all goes into one, and it all goes to doing the best you can over a Grand Prix weekend.
Absolutely.
So how a Grand Prix weekend works, and when we say Grand Prix weekend, it's basically the weekend where they have a race.
It's the race. It's French, isn't it? Grand Prix.
Yeah, Grand Prix is the race. Yeah,
The race.
So on Friday, so the teams will all come to the track during the week. Sorry, so between Monday to we were speaking to a few Haas engineers when we were out in Hungary, and they said that they can get to the Grand Prix. They have the Monday off if they've had the Sunday to race before, and then
Yep.
get to it about Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday time, and then they spend that time setting up the car. The drivers will walk around the track and stuff, and they'll just sort of go through, just get all the logistics set up.
Yeah.
Then Thursday, all the teams sit down and they sit down with their drivers and they have a full debrief where they go through the exact structure for the weekend that they're going to be going with.
Yeah.
And
What they think's going to happen over the weekend.
Yeah.
What they're coming into that weekend.
it's the prep
thinking
time.
about. It's the
yeah.
prep.
Yeah, exactly. And they basically, it's the plan before the weekend starts. And every Friday to Sunday pretty much always goes the same, apart
does.
from some special cases, but we will get onto that.
We will get onto that.
Yeah. So
Go on.
Friday, you have two practice sessions on a Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And what these practice sessions are for is the teams go out with their car and they drive around the track. And then every car collects thousands and thousands of just little data points throughout an entire lap, and it all feeds back to the computers. What they'll do is they'll do these laps in practice. They'll look at the computers, and then they'll make tiny adjustments and tweaks to the car in lots of different ways to try and maximize and reduce the amount of lap time, reduce their lap time basically. So
Because like we say, every track is different.
Yeah.
Every country's different. Obviously, every single area of a track has to be taken into consideration. The wind, the humidity, the heat of the track.
yeah,
The amount. I mean, even if there's lots of corners, like lots of tight corners on that specific track, or if they're long swooping corners,
Yeah.
the car has to be adjusted aerodynamically to try. They do their best to try and get it as eke out as much pace
as they
from
can.
the car
Yeah.
as they can on that specific track on that specific
Yeah,
weekend.
they want the car to be going as fast as it possibly can through every single part of that track.
This gets me all. It gets me all excited.
It's great. And it's because the thing is, the reason why they do that and the reason why it's so close is you can literally, the difference between winning and not winning has been as low as 0.009 of a millisecond.
That's crazy, man.
Which is crazy. And that's the difference it can be between winning a race and coming second. So that's why they maximize everything they can.
They do.
So that's
their
what they
best.
use these practice sessions for. So you have 2 on a Friday.
Yep.
And 1 on the Saturday.
One
the
Saturday morning. Yes.
And then you get into what's called qualifying. So qualifying, if in a race, the cars will line up in a grid. When I say they line up in order basically, and qualifying is what picks that order.
Yeah.
And how qualifying works is it's broken into 3 sessions. In the first session, it's a 15-minute. You have 15 minutes to do one singular fastest lap that you can possibly do.
Yeah.
So there's 20 cars on the grid because there's 10 constructors and 2 drivers per constructor.
And they can go out at any time in that 15 minutes.
Yeah. And
so they'll know when the time starts, they'll know when the time ends, and they will go out when they feel is the right time for the car to go out and do its fastest lap possible.
They want to go for the perfect window that they think would be the best in terms of temperature, wind, all these other factors.
Yeah.
To get the fastest lap they can possibly do.
Yeah.
And in that first session, which is 15 minutes, all 20 cars go out.
Yep.
The people who qualify, the people who have the 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, and 20th slowest times, then get knocked out.
Yeah.
When they get knocked out, that means they're starting from whatever position they were. So if they were 18th, the 18th fastest time, they will start 18th.
Yeah.
Then the 15th fastest time all the way to the first fastest time, then all go back to the grid. They refuel the cars, they put new tires on, and they go out for a second lap. They go out for a second session, sorry.
Yeah, second qualifying session.
So this is called qualifying 2.
Yeah.
This then decides so the 11th to the 15th slowest lap times.
Yeah.
Those people are then knocked out.
Yeah.
And then, so they will start the position wherever from 11th to 15th. And then from 10th to 1st, they go for a final shootout. And that final shootout is going to decide the positions from 10th to 1st place, basically. So you can either go into qualifying and do 3 laps or whatever, 3 different sessions, or you can go into qualifying and only get to do 1 session because you got knocked out straight away.
Yeah.
But wherever you finish on after the end of that day, that's where you're going to start the race.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. That's right. Yeah, I was going to say, because let's not make it confusing and be like, point anyway. But yes, that is correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely right.
And then you have Sunday.
And then race day.
Where you have a set number of laps you have to go around the track.
Mm-hmm.
And whoever comes at the end of all those laps, whoever comes first, wins the race.
Absolutely. And how many points do you get for winning a Grand Prix?
25.
Fantastic. How many points does second get? Or P2?
So P2 would get 18.
And how many will P3 get? Or
third? So third place gets 15th, fourth place gets 12, fifth place gets 10, sixth place gets 8th, seventh place gets 6.
Yep.
Eighth place gets 4, ninth place gets 2, and 10th place gets 1.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anything after 10th place, so 11 to 20, if you're from 11th to 20, you will get no points for that.
No points at all. So you could finish all the laps and everything, but if you've come 11th to 20th, you get no points.
Absolutely. Fantastic. So that is the general brief overview of a race weekend.
Yeah.
Your 2 practice sessions on a Friday, your 1 practice session on a Saturday morning, then you're qualifying on a Saturday afternoon, then your race on the Sunday.
So, to not confuse you guys,
yes,
there are 5 races a year which have a different format.
And this is only something that's happened in recent years.
This is a very, very new thing that they're trying out.
Yeah.
So, in the 5 races this year, you have, what will happen is on Friday you have 1 practice session. Then you go into qualifying.
Yes.
And this qualifying will set the grid. So the positions you finish in that qualifying is where you will start the race on Sunday for the actual race.
Yes. Just like it was previous, but it happens on the Friday.
Yeah, so now it happens on the Friday. Then you go to Saturday and you have what's called a sprint qualifying, which is still the 3 sessions of qualifying, but each qualifying session has less time available. So you know how for qualifying 1 you had 15 minutes to do your session. Now you only have 12 minutes for qualifying 1, 10 minutes for qualifying 2, and 8 minutes for qualifying 3. So it's a lot less time, a lot shorter of a window. You can't make any mistakes really.
No.
And this sprint qualifying sets the grid for what's called the sprint race.
Yes.
So this is a new race and is separate to the final race that happens on the Sunday.
Yep.
And this race it's very confusing, I know. But this
Yes.
race,
We'll summarize it again in a minute. But
yeah, but it's a shorter race that happens. So it's like it's a race that is very short in length, but it's sort of supposed to be like a very short race where you go really flat out, and then at the end of the race you get a small amount of points for the top teams.
Yes.
So I don't know if you know the point structure for them, but you get
you go for
first
it.
place you get 8 points, second place you get 7, sixth place you get, third place you get 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 sort of point system. So it's just 1 point down for each of them.
Yeah.
So you get less points. It's a shorter race, but you just get some points.
Roughly around the 20 laps, isn't it?
Around 20 laps or so. Whereas like a regular race is around 50 or so laps.
Yeah. Depending on the track. If the track is longer in distance per lap,
Yeah.
then obviously there'll be less laps. But if it's a shorter track in distance, there'll be more laps.
Yeah.
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 Yes.
Confusing. But then and
Confusing.
then you have the actual race on the Sunday where you have the full points available.
Yes.
Yeah. And the whole reason they brought that in is they just want fans to be able to see more actual racing in action on
Yes.
track at a time. So yeah.
I think
so.
yes. So practice on Friday,
Yep.
qualifying on the Friday
For Sunday's race.
for Sunday's race.
Yep.
And then there's a sprint qualifier on Saturday morning.
Yep.
Then there's a sprint race on Saturday afternoon.
Yep.
And then your normal race on the Sunday.
Yes.
But you can get points in both of the races, the
Yes,
sprint race
yeah.
and the normal race.
Yeah. And as we said, both those points will count to the Constructors' Championship and the Drivers' Championship.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a good point to add in. I like that.
And there is one more way you can get points, and that is if you do the fastest lap throughout the entire race. So when you're doing a race, you're doing 52 or so laps or whatever, and just depending on the distance. And
Yep.
some races you sort of like you have like every lap you do has a timer, and you log a time every time.
Yeah.
The person who does the quickest one singular lap over that out of everyone during that race will get an additional bonus point.
One
Additional bonus point if they are in the top 10 positions. If you're 11th to 20th, you don't get any points.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And obviously, throughout the race, the laps get quicker, mainly because the drivers are getting used to the track, so they're learning the track and where the sweet spots are in the corners and all those sorts of things. So they're learning the track and just being more confident the more they go around.
Yeah.
And also, fuel is running out. Therefore, the car is actually becoming lighter throughout the race.
Yeah.
And other things.
Yeah.
But that's a couple of reasons as to why.
So nearer the end of the race, you get faster laps because the cars are lighter and the drivers are just more used to the track, and lots of other features as well, which we can talk about. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, let me have a look. Okay, so here's... Yeah, so that, to be fair, we've done quite a good job there, I think.
Yeah.
As a brief overview of how Formula One...
Yeah. Pat on the back for us.
Good job.
Good job.
Good job, It's Lights Out team.
Yeah. We should probably talk about the I guess, so we talked about how each race you get points for the Constructors and the Drivers' Championships. I think the fans care about the Drivers' Championship
Yeah.
because everyone has a favorite driver, and you can have it for whatever multitude of reasons. Like, why do you like Lewis Hamilton?
He's British,
Yep.
and I'm a glory hunter.
He wins everything, basically.
Yeah, well, he's British, and he's the one that I knew when I first started to enjoy it.
Yep.
So it was just natural for me to go, I really like him.
Yeah.
And and I own a Mercedes. So I was like,
you have to like Mercedes.
Mercedes. That's why.
Yeah.
You?
I liked Lewis Hamilton because the first race I ever watched, I liked the look of his car, and I was like, oh, he looks like me. So that's why I like it.
If you are listening to this and you've not watched any of our TikToks or any of our posts or reels, JJ is brown.
Yeah. So I like Lewis Hamilton because he looks like me and no one else did. So that's why I liked him. And his car was silver and red, and it was cool.
Yeah, that was a cool looking car.
Yeah. But yeah, so everyone cares really about the drivers, and the drivers is where you get all the glory, because everyone in F1 is competing against each other. They want to be the best of the best. And if you win the Drivers' Championship, you're like, I'm the best of the best.
Yeah.
But the teams, and the reason why it's a team sport is the teams care about the constructors. They do not care about the Drivers' Championship.
No, exactly.
And the reason why they care about the constructors is money.
Money.
Big money.
Yes. Every team, their constructor's position every year is vital to get as high as they can on that constructors
Yeah.
because of money.
Money. Big
Money.
Big money.
Big dollar signs.
So that's why F1 teams care about the constructors. And there's a prize pool of $900 million, $900 million that goes to all the teams.
Mm-hmm.
But for context, the top team gets 136 million and 150 million, sorry. And the bottom team gets 36 million.
Oh, that's a big difference.
So it's a big amount of money
Yeah.
to come either first or last.
Yes.
And you get a bit of a split as you go down each one. But
So every place you make up
in the constructors
is massive.
is huge.
Yes.
And there's no prize money for the Drivers' Championship. No prize money.
That's because they make so much money anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. They make loads of money anyway in their contracts, but for the teams themselves, there's no money in the drivers. So they only care about where they can go in the constructors and how high they can get up in the constructors.
Yes. So even though the drivers are the heroes at the end of the day, I mean, it's funny, isn't it? Because the drivers are the heroes, and everyone sees the drivers, and obviously they're the. But it does make a lot of like if you think about, like people going into space.
Yeah.
You've never heard of any of the people that make the ship, the rocket ship.
Yeah.
Or the actual
Everyone knows Neil Armstrong.
Everyone knows Neil Armstrong.
But no one really knows the engineers who built Neil Armstrong's rocket.
But let's be honest, those engineers did most of the work. Do you know what I mean?
I get what you mean.
It feels quite similar.
Yeah, it does. It does feel very similar to that. And that's taking nothing away from Neil Armstrong, and it's taking nothing away from the drivers as well. Like they have to still get there, and they still have to be the best.
Their job is vital.
Yeah, their job is
Obviously.
vital. But as we said, 90% of winning a drivers' championship is having the best car.
It is.
Yeah,
it's so important.
Having the best car is 90% of winning a drivers' championship.
Absolutely.
And the amount of development that goes into an F1 car, for context, before there's now a budget cap because they try to control how much F1 teams are spending because the spending was getting insane.
Yeah.
But for context, Mercedes was spending about 400 to 450 million pounds a year to only win 150 million pounds of prize money.
No, but that's a huge amount still.
It's 150 million.
150 million.
It's a huge amount, but they're spending 300 million pounds more on developing the car.
But let's say they spent that 450 million and did come first and came
imagine
sixth.
That. Red Bull, Aston Martin for all those years.
Yeah.
They would spend that much kind of money.
Yep.
And they would not come first.
No, they wouldn't.
They would not come first. So the amount of spending on the car is absolutely insane. But that's why the car plays such an incredibly vital role. But that takes nothing away from that 10%, because that 10% is actually a huge amount of driver skill.
Huge.
And it can be the complete difference between a car that's not quite the best, winning a world championship, or a car that's, a car that's not quite the best, winning a world championship, really.
Absolutely.
So it's really, really important.
I mean, if you think about Fernando Alonso over the past few years, he was at McLaren. We know how good he is as a driver, but in that machine,
He's coming like last.
he wasn't doing very well.
Yeah.
But now that he's in a machine that is absolutely flying,
Yeah.
he's doing
coming-
very,
yeah,
very well.
yeah.
And he's been podium, was it 4 out of the 5 races
Yeah.
this year. So you've got to have a good car.
Yeah. I think this actually brings us on to Rachel's question time. Rachel's question time.
Oh,
Sorry, I stole you. Sorry, that was
stole
your
my bit.
I stole your bit.
that's okay.
I just jumped in. I got excited.
You got really excited.
But that just brings us on to Rachel's question time, which is like, because you can see drivers like Fernando Alonso and George Russell, who are like the best drivers some of the best drivers on the grid, and they're near the back of the grid, and you're like, well, why don't they just all give them equal cars? And that was what Rachel's question was: why doesn't everyone have equal cars?
And it's a very good question.
It's a very good question.
Very
it's probably the most common question I think I ever get asked when I'm talking about F1.
Yes.
Is but why don't you give them equal cars?
Yeah.
Because it would be amazing. And I think a dream for a lot of F1 fans would be to see all the drivers in equal cars.
That's it. And
then
see
who's actually the best.
the best
Yeah.
driver.
Because that's a massive debate in the whole F1 community about who you actually think is the best driver on the grid.
Yeah.
Because the car plays such a big impact on that. There's such a big debate about it.
It's massive. And it would be I would still really love to see that.
And I think every F1 fan
Maybe
would
they
love to
should
see
they should do like 2 races a year.
No,
where
way
they put them all in a Red Bull. They put them all in this year's Red Bull and just go.
But you couldn't. But the weird thing is, you couldn't even do that. Because
No, of
each
course,
car
because
is so
everyone's-
tailor built to a driver. If you put every driver in a Red Bull car, the 2 people who are going to win are the 2 Red Bull drivers.
Yeah, of course.
Which is crazy. But the reason why F1 is not got equal cars, and I think when you fall in love with F1, you realize that F1 is a team sport and not a driver sport. And the real battle is between the constructors.
Yes.
That's the real battle of
It
F1.
is. The technical side is the bit that's so interesting.
And that £400 million or whatever that's going into development, that's the amazing thing, that they can come out and they can gain 1/10 of a second, and that's all the difference between them coming first or them coming 10th.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Crazy. Yeah.
I mean, being devil's advocate, do you not feel that maybe some new fans would want to see that?
They would want to,
because if you want to know who really is the best on that day at that time or for that season, surely you would want to know in equal vehicles, because Formula 2 is in equal.
Yeah.
Formula 3, they're all equal vehicles.
So in most feeder series into F1, in the journeys drivers take to F1.
Yeah.
They're usually in equal vehicles. However, you don't, because of sort of the career lengths in F1 and stuff, Lewis Hamilton is much older than Max Verstappen. So you never saw them in a feeder series to F1, so one of the junior sort of series to get to F1.
Yeah.
Because Hamilton was already in F1 while Max was, driving go-karts. So you never really saw that.
Yeah, because of the age difference.
Because the age difference. So, I mean, a lot of fans, even long-term fans, really do want to see that.
Yeah.
But there's never going to be a circumstance that happens.
Yeah.
There's too much ego. There's too many different variables.
And I think it's more fun. I think it's better. It's so much better.
It is better. It is better.
It's
I
like
think when you actually get into F1, you'll realise that it is better. As frustrating as it is to see your favourite driver in last place because of the car.
Yeah.
You sort of, it is better.
Yes, it is. But it's also, if the way I see it as well is when you put it, if you were to have, if you next season were to be a football fan and they went, every team can only spend this much money. So let's say they said every team can only spend 200 million, and that's it in the Premier League.
Contracts and everything. Yeah,
people would lose their minds.
Yeah,
because they'd go, no, we're the big teams.
Yeah,
we've got this much money. We've got this. We've got these owners. We should not have to. Do you know what I mean? We want to be able to entice the big players with the big money, and we shouldn't have to, have any cap on our spending, even though there are, financial regulations.
All these there's nuances to it, but we get,
But you don't, it wouldn't be as interesting. It is interesting because of the money being spread around and where the money goes and things like that.
Yeah.
Same in F1, which is, it's so interesting about how much money each team spends, where they spend their money.
Yeah.
All those sorts of things.
Yeah. The development and the technology behind the cars is the coolest part of F1.
Yeah.
But the drivers are the face of it. Just like Neil Armstrong's the face of space.
Yes.
But I think to be honest, I think we covered a lot of the sort of fundamentals of F1 and stuff. As we said, I think each week we're going to go into more and more in-depth sort of stuff. So we're going to talk about the actual development of the car, the tyres, the strategy, all of the other interesting parts of F1.
Yeah.
But that's all going to come over the coming weeks.
It will. And look out for that.
Yes. Do look out
so
for it.
Cool.
Yeah. It's going to be really exciting. I can't wait.
Oh, man. That was really fun.
Yeah, that was really fun. I hope you really enjoyed.
Yes. And
I really hope you did.
I hope we've maybe intrigued some people.
Yeah.
Some people to maybe, I don't know, watch a little bit.
Start watching F1 a little bit.
Watching a little bit of F1.
Try watching a little bit of it.
When you're hooked, mate.
Yeah.
You are not getting out.
It's not just cars going in circles.
It's
Trust
not.
me.
Yes.
Trust me.
But yeah, so this has been It's Lights Out, and we will see you very soon. Take care.
Peace.